On September the 27th, Hungary took part in the first meeting of the Friends of Peace group in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. According to Reuters, the meeting was led by China and Brazil with the main goal of promoting the so-called plan to end the war in Ukraine. According to the Hungarian minister, 15 countries have already joined this initiative. Among them are Turkey, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Zambia and Kenya.
Hungary supports this diplomatic effort aligned with the Chinese-Brazilian peace plan, which stresses diplomacy as the only solution, preventing nuclear escalation and avoiding the division of the world into East and West blocs. Zoltan Kovac, Hungarian international spokesperson, on X social network.
Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky rejected Beijing's so-called peace initiative, which is more in line with Moscow's interest. For example, its points include the now traditional call for de-escalation with an emphasis on the importance of holding negotiations. At the same time, there is no requirement for the withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukrainian territory.
When some propose alternatives, half-hearted settlement plans, so-called sets of principles, it not only ignores the interests and suffering of Ukrainians, who are affected by the war the most. It not only ignores reality, but also gives Putin the political space to continue the war and pressure the world to bring more nations under control. Any parallel or alternative attempts to seek peace are, in fact, efforts to achieve a lull instead of an end to the war. As a global initiative, the peace formula has already existed for 2 years.
The head of European diplomacy, Josep Borrell, condemned Budapest's decision to join the Friends of Peace group convened by China and Brazil. He stressed that there remains strong political support for Ukraine in Europe.
There are some member states, not many, maybe only one, and certainly not the most powerful, who start thinking in terms of capitulation. Talking about peace, certainly. Nobody uses the word capitulation, but the way they approach is quite equivalent. And for the first time, I see an European member state participating today in the meeting called by China and Brazil to talk about peace in a different approach that Zelensky planned peace.
Orban is a man of power. He acts in accordance with his logic, and therefore he sells his influence wherever possible. The EU says that Hungary has great ties with Russia and China. Then there are relations with Turkey. They take money everywhere. They take opportunities to support their power everywhere.
Beijing's negotiations on peace in Ukraine, as Blinken noted, do not correspond to reality. He stated this after a meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. According to Antony Blinken, China continues to support Russia's defense industry base. For example, about 70% of machine tools and 90% of microelectronics are supplied from China and Hong Kong to the Federation. This has significantly helped Moscow produce missiles, armored vehicles and ammunition, Blinken emphasized.
So when Beijing says that on the one hand that it wants peace, it wants to see an end to the conflict, but on the other hand is allowing its companies to take actions that are actually helping Putin continue the aggression, that doesn't add up.
Western leaders have previously criticized China's so-called peace initiative, and US President Joe Biden called it beneficial only to the Kremlin. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Христина Домбровська, UATV News.